Hey, welcome back YouTube and the zed.run community. Appreciate you stopping in again. And as usual, thank you so much for the likes, the subscriptions, the comments, the feedback in Reddit and Twitter and so forth. Love you all. Much appreciated. So today's video, I'm going to go through some steps that I use for evaluating a new horse. I can't say that I'm the best at this or proven, but I'm definitely getting better. My most recent horse is able to run fast. I've been able to manage him well, and he's becoming a U-shaped horse. As part of this video, I'm going to review several tools and the way I go about narrowing down my search. I'm going to show several techniques for copying and using the ID numbers to quickly go between the tools and find the horse that you're looking at so that we can evaluate specific information. You can find a link to each of the sites I mentioned in the description below, along with my Twitter handle if you would like to follow. Much appreciated. From a documentation standpoint, I would like to mention that today is October 5th, 2021. The price of Ethereum to USD is approximately $3,450. While I was making this video and over the last few weeks in my evaluation, the price of Ethereum has ranged between 3,500 and 2,800, and the floor price for zed.run horses has steadily declined. There's two choices that occur before you even open a browser to decide which horse is right for you. First, do you want raced or unraced? An unraced horse can be very fun because you get to run it through the tests. You get to run the Griffin race, which is a free race for unraced horses only, to see where it stacks up against the general population. You're going to be the first person to run it in each of the chosen distances to see if it has a preference, to see if it's a winner or a loser. You usually get the benefit of a lower price with an unraced horse for the fact that it's unproven. Now, when it comes to a raced horse, there's a little bit more to it. There is a lightly raced horse, a horse that has less than 10 races. There's an under 50, and there's an over 50. Everything over 50 is pretty much proven. Now, there is opportunity. You can see which way a horse has been run and say, well, if they had made a change, run it this way, maybe I can increase the return on investment. And that is a way to get steals off the market for raced horses. But generally speaking, if you're going to be going to the market and looking for a raced horse, you're going to probably want somebody who is either in that shape, which means you're very confident with your own skills, piloting, scheduling, and class management and so forth. Or you want a proven winner, somebody that is going to get you out there, maybe even comes with a blueprint on how to go about running them. And I'm going to show you how to go about it, looking at both of those options in this video. So like I said, step one, do you want a raced horse or an unraced horse? The second decision you have to understand when it comes to buying a horse is your expected speed and class placement. Now, there is no set determination that says a low Z and a Nakamoto is going to be the fastest, and there is nothing that says that a higher Z Buterin cannot beat a low Z Nakamoto. This is part of the variation and the fun of the game, to find those bloodlines, and we're going to talk about that. But in general, when we look at the game and when we look at the breakdown of where horses are currently running, whether they're class 1, 2, 3, and whether they're winning free races, if they can run a $2.50, a $5, a $10, or a $25 race, nearly any bred horse can fall into that range, but it gets harder and harder the farther you go from Genesis and the further you go away from Z1 Nakamoto. Now, how to work with that information with an unraced horse versus a raced horse is completely different. For an unraced horse, you're just going to have to set an upper level Z and make a choice and run with it and start narrowing it down from there. Depending on how much you're able to afford, as well as what's available, your decisions may align one way or another. For a raced horse, it's a little bit easier since you'll be able to look at the scores, see what classes they're finishing strong and weak in, where they're getting fire, if they're an older horse, where they were getting good odds, and so forth. So again, the goal of this video is not to give any financial advice. It is not to encourage you to buy any specific horse for any specific reason. I'm just documenting my current thinking and the way I go about it as of October of 2021. So most people's first attempt to buy a horse is to go through the zed.run site. As you can see, sold out. And then, of course, you click go to OpenSea. Come to this button. All these trades prices seem reasonable, 0.189 ETH. Click on this. It's about $65. Seems like a reasonable entry into the game. But what does this mean? If I were to click on here and go through the process of getting my Ethereum into ETH or so forth, what do I get? Well, you get a Buterin exclusive, Thistle Coat, a Colt, a Z26. How exciting. Unfortunately, odds are you go to the track and have a very bad time. Thankfully for you, you're going to hang out with me for a minute and I'm going to show you a better way to go about it. We're going to start off with a tool called Haku. And this is the best place to start in searching for a horse. When you come to haku.com/zed listings, you will see this filter. This is your key. So what exactly Haku does is it uses the OpenSea interface to monitor all of the listings. What it does is allows us to use the horse ID number to look further into the statistics behind the horse as well as its lineage. Okay, a quick overview of the filter options. As you can see, in order to get to them, you click over here in the top left. First thing you can do is a gender. By default, it'll do anything. Any of these that are not chosen will do all. So you can choose if you want a male or female. A colt or filly means it's not been bred. A stallion or mare means it has been bred. The Z level, this is where we were talking about Z1 through Z256, I believe. The closer to 1, the faster it's going to be, in theory. If you're unfamiliar with what exactly the breed type and the bloodlines are in specifically, I would actually recommend reading the documentation on the zed.run site. They state it perfectly, cleanest, and nobody's going to be able to interpret it for you any better. Now the rest of these are pretty self-explanatory. The one important one to note here is the number of races. If you specifically want an unraced horse, go in here and set that to 0. Makes sense, right? Being able to filter the parents is also very important. As you can see, if you wanted to make sure that a father, a mother, or both had a specific bloodline, you can do that. Using fire and win percent and races is a very good way to filter out so that you have proven racing ability parents, if that is a criteria that you are weighing as important. Another interesting thing to do is you can use specific IDs. Now, there is a lot of theory that says there is good breeding horses and good racing horses, and sometimes you get both, and sometimes a horse is neither. But if you are familiar with a horse that seems to have consistently great children, you can get the ID of that horse, put it in here, and keep an eye out specifically for that. Understanding the lineage of a horse is absolutely critical to understanding what its potential is. It's not going to tell you it's what it is exactly. It will only tell you its potential, not value. It does not tell you speed. It tells you a potential at best. You can do some deep digging here. Just a reminder about this. The process of finding a new horse can be anywhere from 10 minutes to 10 weeks, depending on your own patience and willingness to dig deep, as well as opportunity. The very best horse may be available in 10 minutes and may be gone in 20, or it may take 10 weeks to find it. I cannot answer that. You, my friends, You, my friend, have to answer that for yourself. So quick rundown and do an example of how I would go about finding an unraised horse. I'm going to select some basic criteria here. So 0 raised, and let's go with that again, Z7 Nakamoto. See what we get here. From low to high, so the lowest one we're going to find here now is a Z12 Nakamoto Elite for 0739 ETH. It may be a good deal, it may not. Let's see if we check out the both. Where are we at? Well, this was a mistakes. 04. Look at 04, 06, 07s. Here's 07. So it's reasonable. You can see 6 hours ago, 9 hours ago, 5 days ago. The prices over the last few weeks have been down, but at least you know where you're looking at as far as the current items. They're not terribly higher or lower, and that will change as time goes on. And we're sorting by a low to high. It's a great place to start with unraised because why not? You may have to dig a little bit further, but odds are your odds of getting a better value are obviously starting at the low. So my first step is to come here, I hit quick view, and I grab this little number, horse number 117096. I copy that and I come over to know your horses. When you manipulate the URL here, you paste that horse there. So horses 117096. Here's our unnamed foal. Father's on the left, and we can see his racing stats. Not too amazing, but we know it's a Z5 Nakamoto exclusive. When we hit the button over here on the left, you see ancestry, and we don't see anything other than this unnamed. So this stallion is unproven as far as its children go. Now we can go back here, we could check the mother, same thing, ancestry, not too good. So in this instance, even though it's a 079 Z12 Nakamoto, it doesn't look like it has the strongest pass. Now, again, this is a risk and reward. It's the cheapest of the lot because it's the most risk. So now for a raced horse, it's going to get a little bit more interesting. Not only do you have to decide whether you want a absolute proven horse or do you want a lightly raced or unproven horse. The difference is that for most popular opinions, you need about 50 races to absolutely prove where a horse lies and where its strengths and weaknesses, running through multiple classes and multiple distances to really understand, as well as different paid price tiers to flush it all out. Now, the process of narrowing down which horse to go for when aiming for a proven horse is a lot more dynamic and based more so on your budget than anything else. And the risk and reward, how much work you want to do, and so forth. General rule of thumb, you set the number of races to what you're comfortable. If you want an absolute proven winner, start with number of races being 50. And if you want something with a little bit more risk and return, cap it at 50. In some cases, cap it at 30 or less. Personally, lately, I've been doing that at 30, which gives me a very good idea of what I'm looking for, and a minimum of 5. Now, 5, 8, 10, it's up to you. Now, looking for a winner, you want somebody who at least won. All right, you want at least one win in there. 1% is fine. Everything above that, that means at least they got a win. So I'm starting off here with 60% fire, and that's because why not? Aim high. Now, I know fire has different meanings to different people and usefulness, but I think it's pretty good for both finding the horse's distance and just finding out if it'll stack up in a class at all. I know that I've had donkeys that have never seen fire in any class, in any distance. So getting over that is a good start, especially on a lightly raised horse. Now, as far as the fathers go and the mothers go, same kind of thing. 40% average fire, one win, 5 to 30 races and a father with a 10%. So that results in a whole bunch of horses here, ranging from Z31, there's a Z12, Z17, we got Z17 Zabo here, Z17 Buterins. So you can see there's quite a range. And since we're pricing from low to high, today it's starting off at 0.05 based on these criteria posted 6 days ago. Okay, so now that we have some results, I'm not going to go through and dig through each of these. This is what you'll end up having to do since the risk and reward will vary. So in there, the first thing I do is click on an OpenSea, make sure that it's still at the current price. When you pull up Know Your Horses, you get some basic stats about it. It's been run 24 times, 8.3% winning. It's got some winnings and is making a profit as of this point. Final positions, it's leaning left. Not bad in that regard, and it's getting heat in long distances. Note this 2600, those are hard races to get. They don't show up very often. So keep that in mind. When you click on the horseshoe on the left there, it'll bring up this view. This view is the horse's results broken down by distance. Note that it can be slightly deceiving if you have a horse that goes between classes. Again, because we're buying a horse, eventually we may want to breed it, you may want to look at the parents, the same thing, and understand their history and their ancestry. So in this one, his father not doing too hot, despite the father themselves being a very U-shaped racer. It's off-breed, not so much so, and there's a lot of them. Another tool I like to use is zed.run.tools, and to look at the bloodlines. This allows me a nice graphical way to just click through and come back and see how deep things are. This one we would do same thing, paste the ID number there, and you're able to click to show the parents, keep building it out, click on the parents, click, 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 to keep seeing the various stats. Now, it's pretty, and you get a good idea of what it looks like. You can get further down the lineage, see cousins and so forth. Personally, this final positions distributions of the offspring on the ancestry page on Know Your Horses is invaluable. It's breaking it down in this, summarizing all of the horses, the offspring into one consolidated final positions view. Pretty amazing. Another amazing site is MJ Informatics. This site helps you to understand how your horse's speed stacks up over a course of time in many races. It also allows you to differentiate between class 4 and class 5 and how many races are run in a particular day and so forth, as well as free and paid. As you can see down here, these are the red is the speeds and the white is the field. So you can see this horse is going to be behind the speed or was behind the speed. The thicker the red is, the more times it landed in that result, right? So it's just because individuals are tracked. And so you can get an idea that this horse may be okay here in the 2000s. It's got some nice deviation here. As you can see here, and like it finishes well ahead of the pack in the 2600s. And the last tool that I use, which can really help to understand how a previous owner has been running the horse, is called StackedNax.com. The site comes with an extension available to help you pick your races while you're actually in there and running. But from a statistical standpoint, the site is amazing at showing the history and breaking down how the horse got its record. So for example, here we are in Sahara. We got the color coordinating. These shows the median speeds and the top speeds to show where it was fast. The nice thing about this is you can see here, so this horse only has 7 races in class 5 and didn't do too bad. First and third here, it's not that great. It's all in the middle, right? Leans left, but then here we go, class 4, pretty dumpity, and so forth, right? And we keep going down. There's a class 5, it's down there, or 3, I should say, sorry. You can really dig in here and start to see how well a horse is run. Honestly, this is where you're going to start to understand whether you can turn a horse around or not. An example of a horse that I recently purchased that I thought I would be able to run differently and turn him around was 6 to Midnight. On the screen here, you'll see that previously Haggard Hawk horses had run them quite a bit, and then it was sold and run to Erica's or transferred or whatever it be. But you can see here, these are class 5s here and all class 4. Class 4, class 4, the class 5s, class 5, well, sorry, it was all class 4. Here's where I take it over. So prior to me, they were running only in class 4. And although the results, they were getting a third here, a second and a third, there was all these middle runs that just weren't going anywhere. So I bought the horse and I said, well, we need to get this thing down to class 5. It is a class 5 winner. It's a class 4 loser. So since then, I've been able to pick out races that to try to get it down. And see this, as soon as we get it into class 5, there's a third. Here's a class 5 third. Here's a class 5 third. Now, since I'm on the line between 4 and 5, I would win and bump up into class 4, and then it takes me a little bit to get back down to 3, get down to 5, and so forth. But since I've been able to pepper in these class 5 runs, you can see I'm actually turning this horse right around. Now, I can't always do it, see, but that's how we do it. And most recently, look, first place, class 5, 1800. So this was a project, and the way I found this horse was going through all these steps, led me to here to say, this guy's got some speed. He's just simply being run wrong. Now, the final piece in the puzzle is actually making the purchase. First, you need to make sure that you have a WETH in your wallet on OpenSea. I'm not going to go into that here. There's a lot of videos out there and a lot of new tools coming and going for how to go about doing that. But assuming you have the WETH in your OpenSea wallet, come here and you can do buy now or make an offer. It's up to you. Buy now, get it, give it about 5 to 10 minutes. It's in your wallet. And when you log into the site, it'll be in your stable. You do a make an offer, you may or may not get it. You leave it there for a few days, it may show up. I've had this one time with my recent Nakamoto. I bid significantly less. I waited a few days. I woke up in the morning and it was in my stable. What I had seen, and I went back. Now, I did learn something in this. And when I make an offer, I got to keep track of it, because when I made the offer, the horse was unraced. It was I think I left the offer for 3 days. More recently and going forward, I'm only doing 24-hour offers. Take it or leave it, and we're good. In this case, it was 3 days, but in between then, the owner ran the horse 5 times. So when I got the horse, it had a few runs. Thankfully, it weren't terrible, and it's shaping up to be a very nice runner. But in either case, buy now, make an offer. It's up to you. Patience, persistence, risk, reward. It's all for you. All right, folks. Thank you again so much for hanging out. If you made it this far, it couldn't have been that bad. Please consider hitting that like button. Hit the subscribe. I'll be back. You'll be back. Much love. We'll see you on the track, Jack. Mwah. Peace.